distinguished guests, a very good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to the Council on Vertical Urbanism Colombo Forum 2026. Before we begin today's program, we'd like to take a brief moment to acknowledge an important milestone in the journey of this organization. For many years, this community has been represented by the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat, more widely known as the CTBU Edge. Today, that legacy continues under a renewed identity, the Council on Vertical Urbanism.
This afternoon, we have brought together some of the finest minds in engineering, architecture, and urban development to explore how the tall buildings in an age of global instability must be designed to survive. My name is Zagesh Sriram.
And I'm Sarah Hettiarachi. It is our pleasure to be your host this afternoon. Thank you, everyone. Next up, to share the vision behind today's gathering and thinking that inspired this year's forum, let us warmly welcome Architect Nirodha Gunadasa, Vice President of the Council on Vertical Urbanism, Sri Lanka, and the founder and director of Arcadium Private Limited, to the stage. His remarks will provide the intellectual framework for the discussion that will follow. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Architect Nirodha Gunadasa.
Is this thing working? Yeah, okay. Can I have the point? Right, okay, thank you for that wonderful introduction to me. So as usual, my duty, can you hear me clearly? Yeah. So as usual, my duty is to give the introduction to the theme of the forum. Okay, let's begin. This is a tall building, or rather it's the lifeline of a tall building. So this is the lifeline of a tall building, and this is the birth of a tall building. And then this is the death. So in between this period is the period of survival of the tall building. And a tall building can survive maybe 100 years or maybe 200 years. But when we design, we have to design it at least to survive for minimum 50 years. Otherwise, it is not going to make proper sense. But why does a tall building die like that? It's not just because the structure deteriorates. One reason is technology change. For example, now if you look at a tall building designed in 1975, constructed in 1975, the lifts on those buildings, they don't work, and we don't have a way of upgrading that. It is because the needs change. For example, those buildings doesn't have any parking inside the building. So right now we need hundreds of parking inside the building. And this is an office building in 1975. Is this thing working? Clear? Okay. So they have never thought that there will be offices with computers and all these new things. So this kind of things doesn't work today. So what happens is a building altogether becomes obsolete, and we have to demolish and reconstruct a building. So that's why when we are designing a tall building, we cannot design it for today. We have to look into the future. How far into the future? Not 50 years, but at least 25 years into the future we have to look in. So if you do that, it will work for today, and also it will survive for another 25 years. So we need to look at least 25 years into the future. And this is 2026, this is where we are now. And the thing is, then we have to imagine what kind of a world will be there in 25 years. What do you think the world will be in 25 years? Almost the same, isn't it? Nothing much different. If you think so, I'll give you some clues, one or two clues, what will happen in 25 years. In 25 years, the humanoid robot manufacturing industry is more than double the car industry today. That means each one of you will have an assistant robot by 2025. You will think it's a sci-fi thing I'm talking about. No, it definitely happens. And that time we have to arrange seats for your robots as well. It's happening now. In Texas, gigafactories are already built there, and it's going to start manufacturing robots end of this year, and they are going to manufacture 27,000 robots per day, and it's amount to 10 million robots by the end of 2027, and it's going to increase. So it's definitely going to happen. In 25 years, there are going to be cure for all diseases. Cure for all diseases, including aging. Once again, if you think it is not so, the AI thing you know is not just the language thing you know. The real development in AI doesn't happen in language. Only few people know that. The real mega development AI is in molecular biology. So if you are blind to this, go home and study what AlphaFold, Google AlphaFold has done to the molecular biology. In medicine. So it is happening now, and cure for all diseases will come much less than 25 years time from today. Cure for all diseases means people with very much altered goals. Your goal of life is to retire by 65 years, earn something for the balance of the life, and your next generation, and the next generation, if possible, 7 generations ahead. But the goals of people will change. A society we are talking about with different expectations. So I just told you only 2 things, but there's a massive lot going to change. The thing is, in 25 years, there are going to be a world that is unimaginable to us today. And the thing is, when you are designing tall buildings today, we have to design them for that future. So that's why we have this great lecture today from engineer Gunadasa, designing for the unknown. And I think it is going to be the most interesting lecture today, and maybe the most fascinating one. So make sure you don't miss that great lecture. Right, so what about the security? What about the security of those days? Do you remember this guy? This is the Easter attack, isn't it? It is a difficult thing to brainwash a person to do like this. We didn't check everybody's bag today. It's not because we believe all the people outside is very good and they don't wish you die. It is because it is a difficult task to brainwash a person to come here and do a blast like that. But imagine a world, a humanoid robots outnumbered human beings. Professor knows in a tall building we have designed today, blasting 2 columns means the building is down. So as engineers and architects, when we are designing tall buildings, we are responsible now. We are responsible for cyclones that is coming in 50 years. So we design for that. So when we can foresee the danger, it's our responsibility to design for that. So that's why it's a new field. That's why we have brought Professor Mark Stewart to discuss this great topic, risk-based blast protection of tall buildings, and he is the president of International Association of Protective Structures. He is the best person in the world to talk about this. So that's why we have brought him. Okay. Does this ring a bell in your head? Have you remembered? Do you remember this? That day some of you were under your bed, I suppose. This is ARID 2007. Most of you must have remembered. But it was a difficult task once again for LTT to do this. They had to bring this plane part by part, assemble it, and later on you have to send these suicide people outside the country to train them, bring him here, and then create a track to take off these planes and so forth. But they did quite a considerable damage to our city and infrastructure. So imagine what would it look like, not 25 years ahead, today, today what would it look like if somebody wants to do this kind of a destruction? With the same cost and effort, it will come as a swamp of drones, coordinated drones, and it can devastate the entire infrastructure network of our country. So people don't realize that. So it's emerging great threat. So how ready our cities and how ready we are as the planners to face these kind of challenges that are coming. So that's why we have brought Associate Professor Damit Mohotti to discuss the emerging threats on critical infrastructure. It's a very interesting lecture. And he's a military engineering and blast simulation engineer. And he's actually the academic head of the largest simulation facility, blast simulation facility in the southern hemisphere of the world. I personally like Professor Damit a lot because he's not that kind of engineer who just blindly runs someone's software and then come out with the solution and say this is the solution. He's a person who works with fundamentals of physics and model fluid dynamics, and then sometimes even advocate those who design the softwares. Okay. So these are some of the cities, ancient cities. This is the form of the city when the weaponry of the enemy was just archery. But they designed the city in such a way it's difficult to shoot an arrow into the city. But when it is developed to these catapults, the cities had thick walls right round, and the form of the city evolved with that. And when the city developed further, when the cannons are there, artilleries, the form of the city changed. And this shows the recent cities we see in the feudal era. And those cities even survive today. The reason is they designed it to face the enemy challenges. So the urban form came in response to the weaponry of the enemy. This is Tel Aviv today. Okay, so despite of all this, I mean, it's an obvious thing that this is not a coincidence. It's their plot. They know that this is going to happen. So I have one question, whether it's right or not, it's a different thing. I have one question to the planners of this city. Is this the right urban form? A city has to be resilient. A city has to be capable of not only war, but take the challenge of a pandemic or economic crisis or even a natural crisis, face the challenge, recover from that, and build again. That is called urban resilience. And that's why we have Professor Priyan Mendis today to tell us about resilience. Despite of the great achievements he has done in the international arena and the great things he has done to Sri Lanka, he brought the Green Building Council, of course, with Professor Ranjit, and the Candy Conference, and even this is his brainchild. So leaving all that behind, he's coming here today because he's the president of International Association of Protective Structures, Australian chapter. Okay, so we have a great lineup of speakers. Of course, we have Professor Brian Uy, and he's going to talk about the composite structures for tall buildings, so which is also a very important thing to discuss today. Right, so if this is not the right urban form, then what is the right urban form for future cities? This is an image rendered by AI. So some AI software thinks this is the future city. But something important to notice is this skyscraper we are thinking about is the form of peace and harmony. This kind of a structure is very, very vulnerable. So unless there's peace and harmony, those kind of structures can't survive. This is what's happening in Ukraine today. You can see what has happened to all these tall buildings. They are the greatest target, the easiest target of the enemy. This is buildings in Gaza. So when this happens, a person can't even escape. You are freezed there and you have to just bear that. You lift so anything doesn't work. This is Syria. So when a tall building is collapsed, it collapses progressively and then everybody has to be under ashes. This is Lebanon. When this modern heavy weapons hit, you can see the footage is here, the building is down there. This is Tel Aviv. In this building, half of the building is there, but the balance half is almost gone, there's nothing. This is Turkey. You can see how the heavy artillery when you hit. These vertical things are the horizontal floors some time back. This is Tehran. When you go and stand here, you hear people crying beneath your feet, layers upon layer, and you can't do nothing about it. This is Beirut. So when a tall building collapses like this, it's not only hit that building, but neighboring buildings also get damaged. And this is Palestine. This is only a tiny fraction of Palestine, not the entire Palestine. And you can see the devastation that has happened to the tall buildings. 5 years ago, if one building collapsed like this, it was a reason for the entire world to lament for one week. Today, all this has happened and we don't care. What a change of mentality we are talking about. What a change of mentality has happened. So rising to the skies, rising to the heavens is possible only when there is everlasting peace. That is what this wars has taught us. So if the world is going to war and hatred, a new urban form needs to evolve. And even if we don't do that, it will automatically get evolved. This can be that form. Cities has to be dispersed because high density means high risk, easy target. So buildings will not be constructed close to each other, so they will get dispersed. This will be the kind of tall buildings that are coming. On top, there is a thick layer of concrete to prevent glide bombs entering. And then we have few layers of living, presumably light up with optical fibers. And then we have the power systems below that. And your means of escape has to be down below. Because when they hit from the top, you must be able to get out. So instead of reaching the heavens, the tall building will reach the hell. But we need not to go there, as I said, if there is everlasting peace, isn't it? What is the cause of all these wars in the world? It's complicated geopolitical issues, isn't it? Israel-Palestine is a different problem. Russia-Ukraine is a different problem. America-Iran, it's a nuclear-related another problem, is it? No, it is not. The cause of the war is only one thing. It is the inability to see all living beings are equal. There's no other cause. If you can see all living beings are equal, when you see someone who can't see that, what do? You make them also see that. That's what Mahatma Gandhi did, isn't it? But if you can't see all living beings are equal, when you see someone who don't see that, what can you do? You can only destroy them. So that's what America is doing on Iran now. Iranians are very bad people according to America because they don't see all living beings are equal. If they have a nuclear weapon, they will destroy the world. Maybe true. So how much money you spend to destroy them? Billions of dollars. How much money you spend to make them see? Nothing. But if you look at America from the Iranian point of view, what do you see? It's the same thing. If you look at both of them from a different point of view, you see both are equally blind. So that is the cause of war. It doesn't matter what war is, whether it is Israel-Palestine war or Russia-Ukraine war, North Korea-South Korea war. The cause of the war is only this. But why it is so difficult to see all living beings are equal? Why it is so difficult? It is because seeing it is not about understanding the superficial meaning. It's about feeling all living beings are equal inside the chest. Each of you, each man, has 2 dogs inside your chest. The dog of hatred and the dog of compassion. If you just look at your chest now, you will feel them trembling inside now, isn't it? It's there. Which dog barks louder? Is it the dog of hatred or the dog of compassion? It's the dog that you feed. Which dog did you feed from the things you heard from morning to this time? It's the dog that you are going to feed that is going to bark louder, grow stronger. The thing is, unless the right dog is fed, you will not hear the voice, all living beings are equal, resounding inside your chest. So that's the problem we have. And you might think, now we understand the problem. It is these people, they don't understand this. So that's the cause of the war. But who are they? They are representatives of their respective societies. It's a democratic world, isn't it? The hatred of leaders doesn't mean anything other than the hatred of people they represent. So which dog do they feed is not the right question. The right question is, which dog do you feed? Because the world is a collection of people like you. Which dog do you feed? That is going to decide what kind of urban environment we are going to live in the future. The urban habitat of heaven or the urban habitat of hell. So that is my introduction to the theme today. Mr. Chiromal wanted me to explain a few other things. Should I do that? Okay, right. Oh, he just wanted to explain me a little bit about Council on Vertical Urbanism. So it's the world's largest database on tall building technology. And I want all of you to become a member of this organization. Why? It is basically because there's a gap. There's a gap between you and a professional in the Western world. We have to admit that there's a gap. They are equipped with better, updated knowledge, and you are not. But it's not so if you are a member of CTBUH, because I'm telling CTBUH because it's a habit of me, it's CVU. If you are a member of CVU, you are open to the entire set of new research and new things coming up in the world, so you are 100% updated. There's a gap between you and them. It is because they have better exposure. They have seen a lot of new buildings coming up and so forth. You have seen only the things happening in Colombo. If you are a member of CVU, it is not so. It is because there's the CVU World Congress. You can participate there, and there are technical tours arranged by CVU. You are taken to the best construction sites in the world, and you experience how things are happening. There's a gap. It is because they know people, they know experts, and you know only a few of us here. It is not so if you're a member of CVU, there's networking sessions happening, and you will be able to participate in many works, and you can work together with the world's best people. That's why it's important all of you become a member of CVU. We have members in more than 100 countries, CVU, and we have chapters in more than 40 countries. And we are one of those chapters, the CVU Sri Lanka chapter. Today we have set up the stage as the CVU Sri Lanka chapter to discuss one of the most relevant and burning issue. And we have brought the best people in the world to talk about it. Not only that, today we have brought here all the leaders, all in the authorities, academia and the industry together in this small room. So my last thing I'm to tell you is just don't listen to them and go home. Don't run home. It's your chance to meet them and develop relationships. That's one of the goals of CTBUH. And We have brought the best to you today, and it's your duty to take the best out of it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Architect Nirodha Gunadasa, for that inspiring introduction to today's forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the launch of our next publication. While the previous book explored the science of structural engineering, this one explores a very different question. Can architecture learn from the way living systems adapt, evolve, and respond to change? The living equation. It is a journey that begins by looking beyond buildings, beyond geometry, and into an extraordinary intelligence.
The living equation. This is not just a book of equations. It is a book of breathtaking photography, inspiring renderings, and beautifully crafted illustrations. A book worthy of your coffee table. Within its pages, parametric architecture is explained not through technical language, but through art, graphics, diagrams, and visual stories. Complex ideas made simple, creative, and enjoyable to explore. Written by an award-winning Japanese architect, Junpei Shirai, this is not a book only for professionals. It is for everyone who loves architecture, design, and creativity.
The living equation, it's about how architecture is not just about shape or appearance. Like architecture is created from many relationships like nature, structures, or climates or economy or construction and human experiences. So the equation in this book is not a fixed mathematical formula. It is a living relationships between many forces.
In this book, he's not exploring the works of any Western architects, but the legacy of Sri Lankan architect Nirodha Gunadasa. Exploring not the wonders of 3D curves, high-tech materials, and technologies, but the wonder of doing parametric architecture just with bricks, concrete, and human hands. Wonder of doing it only with what is locally available.
In Spain, there are construction method called Catalonian vault. It is to design three-dimensional surfaces by using small brick plates. They connect into 3 layers and change it by little, and make some sort of like domes or the waves of the designs. It's a local method and local construction skills, technique. Like even in Japan, we design various projects by wood because we have craftsmen who control wood very well.
The living equation is a story of creating lifelike systems that can curl, bend, twist, and creep intelligently. Instead of rigid geometric forms like cubes, cylinders, pyramids, and domes, the living equation is all about creating extraordinary forms and spaces. Not impossible fantasies, but buildings that can be constructed with real materials, real craftsmanship, and real engineering. Visionary in form, grounded in reality.
Many people just design on the desk, not on the site. They lose idea of reality. They imagine various fantasy of construction in computer programs, and that cannot become real. It is far from reality. It's dreamy story. When we talk about parametric architecture, we think it is very expensive, it is very difficult to build, and it doesn't last long. But when we design buildings or projects in parametric design, but very carefully, it can adjust to nature very easily as well. So for architecture to remain meaningful in society, just making buildings in a traditional way or making new beautiful forms is not enough. So I believe this book offers an important point of view of all those things.
In an age of uncertainty, survival belongs not to the strongest structures, but to the most adaptive systems. The buildings of tomorrow cannot be designed for yesterday's world. They must respond intelligently to the forces that will shape the future. Changing economies, rapid technological evolution, new weaponry and defense systems, and the ever-changing behavior of people. Architecture must become responsive rather than static. Forms generated by intelligence, not convention. Forms that evolve as their governing parameters evolve. Only with the power of parametric design, this is possible. This is the future explored in the living equation.
Parametric architecture is not only about advanced technology or complexity in the forms. It is also about how architecture can respond to many different conditions in the real world. Like controlling forms by parametry is one method of how we can touch environments, structures, economy, constructions, city, and human experience at once.
The living equation is more than a book. It is a conversation piece, a source of inspiration, a timeless addition to your home, office, or studio, a gift that celebrates creativity, and a lasting record of one of Sri Lanka's most distinctive contributions to contemporary architecture.
That's a brief introduction to the living equation, the ideas that inspired its creation. To officially introduce the English edition of the book in Sri Lanka, it is now my pleasure to invite the publisher, Mr. Lakmal Fernando, representing One Ceylon Private Limited, to address the gathering.
The first time I opened the manuscript, I was not thinking as a publisher. I was simply curious. Why would a Japanese writer and architect choose to study the work of a Sri Lankan architect so closely? What had captured his attention? What had he seen so clearly, perhaps more clearly than many of us here at home? Distinguished guests, members of the build community, good evening. Before I read a single word, I began turning the pages. One page, then another. These were the buildings that first caught my attention. And as I moved through the book, I found myself imagining another version of Colombo. What might this city have become if more architects of this imagination had been given the opportunity to rise here? Perhaps Colombo could have become an open-air gallery of innovation, a city people would travel to experience, explore, and study. That was my first realization. The second came when I began to read. I realized these buildings were not created for appearance alone. Behind every form was a deeper way of thinking. Equations were being used not simply as calculations, but as tools for turning ideas into architecture. Nothing was arbitrary. The buildings responded to climate, culture, technology, economics, and human behavior. They also asked an important question: how should we build for the future? And that, for me, is what makes this book so relevant. The living equation is not only about Architect Nirodha Gunadasa's body of work. It's about what becomes possible when imagination and logic are allowed to work together. That is why, on behalf of my fellow director Yasas and the team at One Ceylon, I am honored to present the English edition of Living Equation. It also reflects the direction we have chosen as publishers. Carefully curated coffee table books exploring architecture, real estate, nature, and place. With this edition, we made a deliberate choice. We wanted the book to remain beautifully produced while making the ideas accessible to the developers, architects, and professionals who are shaping our built environment. The Japanese edition will be offered as a premium collector's publication. For the English edition, however, we wanted these ideas to reach a wider audience. So, although it is normally priced at 15,000 rupees, copies will be available here today at a special launch price of 5,000 rupees. I warmly invite you to take a copy home, not simply to place on a coffee table, but to open, enjoy, and discover something new each time when you turn its pages. Bringing this edition to life depended on so many individuals. My sincere thanks go to Architect Junpei Shirai-san for giving the work such a beautiful voice. I'm equally grateful to my fellow director Yasas, and especially to the team at Arcadium for their valuable contribution. My thanks also go to 8 Spence printers, the CVU organizers, and everyone who bring this publication to life. May the living equation continue that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lakmal. May I request you to remain on stage? May I now invite Mr. Yasas Pereira, Director of One Ceylon, to join Mr. Fernando for the presentation of the first copies. Now let me invite Architect Nirodha Gunadasa to the stage to receive the first copy of the English edition of the Living Equation. Thank you, Architect Gunadasa. Please remain on stage. Let us now invite our distinguished guests to the stage to receive their commemorative copies. Mr. Aslam Omar, Professor Mark Stewart, Professor Ranjit Disanayake, Professor Priyan Mendes, Professor Damit Mohoti, Engineer Lakmal Fernando, Professor Brian Uwe, Miss Yasmin Becker, and Engineer Yasas Gunawardana.
May we request everyone to remain in position for the official group photograph.
They did already, so we'll thank them.
Thank you, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with today's Colombo Forum, we would like to share a special launch day offer for the Living Equation. The retail price of the book is 15,000 Sri Lankan rupees. As our guest this evening, each one of you will receive a launch day discount card valued at rupees 10,000. Immediately after the forum, you may present this card at the reception counter in the lobby to purchase your copy of the book at this exclusive launch day price.